Your heart just stopped. Not slowly, not dramatically. One moment, it was beating as it always had, sending blood through your body, and the next moment, it wasn't. That's it. Second zero. And what happens during the next 60 seconds may be one of the strangest experiences in the entire human story. Because according to modern neuroscience, the moment we call death might not begin with silence. It might begin with a final surge of activity, a last burst of awareness. The instant your heart stops, your blood pressure crashes to zero. The blood that had been moving continuously through thousands of miles of blood vessels suddenly loses its momentum. No circulation, no oxygen delivery, no fresh fuel for your organs. But here's what's surprising. Your brain doesn't immediately know what's happened. For several seconds, the oxygen already present in your bloodstream and brain tissue is still available. Neurons continue firing. Electrical signals continue traveling through networks of cells. Your thoughts, memories, emotions, and awareness don't simply vanish. For a brief moment, you are still you. The conversation you were having, the memory you were recalling, the feeling you were experiencing, all of it continues. But the clock is ticking. Around 10 seconds later, your brain begins to notice something is wrong. Despite making up only a small percentage of your body weight, the brain consumes roughly 20% of your oxygen supply. It is one of the most energy-hungry organs in the human body, and now its fuel source has been cut off. The cerebral cortex, the part of the brain responsible for conscious thought, decision-making, and awareness, starts shutting down. This is usually the moment consciousness fades. Your eyes stop processing images. Your ears stop interpreting sounds. To everyone watching, you appear gone. But inside your skull, something unexpected may be taking place. For decades, scientists assumed dying was a gradual fade to black, a slow loss of electrical activity as the brain powered down like a machine losing energy. Then, researchers began discovering evidence that challenged that assumption. Studies examining brain activity near death revealed something astonishing. Instead of immediate silence, some brains produced sudden bursts of highly organized electrical activity. Not random signals, not meaningless noise. Activity associated with awareness itself. These were gamma waves, the same type of brainwaves often linked to consciousness, memory retrieval, intense focus, vivid dreams, and complex information processing. For a brief period, the dying brain appeared to become unusually active, almost as if it was carrying out one final task. And that possibility leads directly to one of humanity's oldest mysteries, the life review. You've heard the phrase before, my life flashed before my eyes. Most people imagine a highlight reel of major events, graduations, weddings, achievements, milestones. But many people who have survived cardiac arrest describe something very different. They don't report seeing only the biggest moments. Instead, they describe ordinary moments, tiny moments, forgotten moments, riding a bicycle as a child, looking out a window on a random afternoon, walking through a hallway, sitting at a table doing absolutely nothing special. Moments that seemed insignificant at the time. Yet somehow, they return with extraordinary clarity. Some survivors even report memories they hadn't consciously thought about in decades. Experiences buried so deeply they believed they were gone forever. This raises a fascinating question. How much of our lives is actually stored inside our brains? Every face you've ever seen, every room you've ever entered, every conversation you've overheard, every sunset you barely noticed. Perhaps your brain has recorded far more than your conscious mind remembers. And if a massive neurological surge occurs during the dying process, could it unlock access to that hidden archive? Science doesn't have an answer yet, but the possibility is remarkable. Meanwhile, outside the brain, the rest of the body is entering a different reality. Around 30 seconds after cardiac arrest, oxygen delivery has effectively stopped throughout the body. Trillions of cells begin responding to the crisis. Without oxygen, they switch to emergency energy production. It's a temporary backup system, but it's inefficient and produces lactic acid. That acid begins accumulating rapidly. Muscles lose tension. Your jaw relaxes. Your eyelids no longer hold themselves shut. If you were standing, gravity has already taken control. Your pupils become fixed and enlarged. The tiny muscles responsible for adjusting them stop receiving instructions. The body is beginning to let go, yet the mystery of consciousness remains. Researchers studying cardiac arrest have documented accounts that continue to challenge assumptions about death. Some survivors report clear thoughts and vivid awareness during periods when they were clinically dead. Others describe observing events around them while medical teams attempted resuscitation. A few even claim they could hear conversations or perceive details that they later recalled after recovery. These accounts remain controversial. Some scientists argue they are hallucinations created by oxygen deprivation. Others suggest they may result from brain activity occurring during the process of revival. And some researchers acknowledge that current science simply doesn't have enough information to explain everything. But one pattern appears repeatedly across cultures, countries, and decades of reports. People rarely describe fear. Instead, many Many describe an overwhelming sense of peace, a calm unlike anything they had ever experienced. Some speak of complete acceptance. Others describe encountering deceased loved ones, a parent, a grandparent, a familiar presence that seemed to be waiting for them. Whether these experiences originate entirely within the brain or point towards something beyond our current understanding remains one of the greatest unanswered questions in science. But their consistency is difficult to ignore. Now we reach the 1-minute mark, 60 seconds. Your cells are under extreme stress, but many are still alive. And this distinction matters because death is not a single moment. It's a process. At 1 minute, that process is not yet complete. If CPR begins now, if a defibrillator restores a heartbeat, if oxygen once again reaches the brain, recovery is still possible. Brain cells can survive several minutes without oxygen before widespread irreversible damage occurs. That means you exist in a strange state, a biological borderland. Not fully alive in the traditional sense, but not permanently gone either. Your skin has only begun to lose color. Your body temperature remains close to normal. Inside countless cells, microscopic systems are struggling to maintain order. Some cellular membranes are beginning to weaken. Certain enzymes are starting to leak. The earliest stages of self-digestion, known as autolysis, have begun. But only just. Most of your body remains intact, waiting. And what it's waiting for depends entirely on what happens next. The medical answer is straightforward. Your cells are waiting for oxygen. Restore blood flow soon enough, and many will recover. Every day, people return from this state. Hearts begin beating again. Brains become active again. Eyes open. Lives continue. But there is another answer, a more human answer. If help never arrives, if no intervention comes, then this minute becomes the final chapter of a life. And what researchers continue discovering suggests something extraordinary. The brain may not spend its last moments quietly shutting down. It may spend them reaching inward, searching through decades of memories, revisiting experiences, replaying moments, conducting one final review of the story it spent an entire lifetime creating. And perhaps that's the most powerful lesson hidden within all of this. The people who return from the edge rarely come back talking about money, promotions, status, or possessions. They talk about people, conversations, family dinners, childhood memories, quiet afternoons, simple moments they once considered unimportant. Because those moments were never unimportant at all. Somewhere inside your brain, they were being recorded the entire time. Every laugh, every mistake, every hug, every sunset, every ordinary Tuesday afternoon, stored away like pages in a vast library. And if the final minute of life truly includes one last journey through that library, then perhaps the greatest mystery isn't what happens after we die. Perhaps it's realizing how much of life we failed to notice while we were still alive.